Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Because I have students that at my 1 o'clock class that can't be here. All right. So without further ado, Dan White, as you know, I introduced you to Dan this week in our module. He illustrates marketing concepts, and you can understand very complicated strategies, tactics, ideas through these drawings. I discovered him on the Marketing Book Podcast. I believe I did put the link up for you to listen to that appearance. We've got a link to some of his drawings, as well as to the website for the case series that he's doing that I think is outstanding. So I'm going to be quiet and let Dan take it away from here. Dan White, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You know, with Tom introducing me, I always feel under pressure to be larger than life. I'm British. I don't tend to be quite as, you know, exuberant as certain American colleagues, but I hope you'll nevertheless find this useful. What I thought I'd do is, okay, can you all see my screen? It's my website, yeah? Okay, cool. I thought I'd start with, I thought the most useful way to start would be through a particular framework I have found increasingly useful in recent times, right? And that is called the value disciplines. Now, I'll just make that large. Is that visible to everyone just before I go on? Yeah, okay, cool. So I don't know why I keep coming back to this one, but there's something important about the idea that, you know, any one company, any one brand cannot realistically be the best at everything. You know, the world is too competitive. You know, there are too many competitors out there or companies that could copy what you do. So it's important to kind of understand what it is about your company, yeah, that allows you to be the best at something. And this framework, which I love, it basically highlights 3 different ways in which a company could be the best. One is product leadership. The idea here is that if your company can produce the best, most innovative, most up-to-date products that consumers value, that is a huge competitive advantage. So that's one route, if you like. The second one is, okay, what about if you are so efficient in the way you produce and deliver and distribute your product or service that it is the best value? You know, the balance between the quality you give and the price that you ask. In which case you can excel in operational excellence. And then the third one is a bit different, which is kind of like, okay, what about those, you know, appealing to those customers who want a personalized service? So either delivering products that are personalized that you can't get anywhere else from any other brand, or a service experience that is so powerful and again personalized that you value it and you're prepared to, you know, devote your loyalty there. These are 3 broad, very, very broad strategies that a lot of the world's most powerful brands have been able to leverage, you know, and succeed by being the best at. There are other models, but I personally find this one the most simple and clear of all. Okay, so let me take you through. I mean, you know, there are some clues on my website here. You know, what are the best examples? I want to start with product leadership. And in fact, I mean, I could start with Dyson. I kind of want to go actually with Apple. I'm always 50-50 between Apple and Dyson. Let me show you Apple actually, because that's my latest. So I'm going to take you to Apple. So I literally have only just published this. Ah, good. I've only just published this like a few days ago. This is a summary that myself and Mark Binkley have worked on, another excellent practitioner in marketing. to try and understand why have Apple, I mean, you will, I guess, at least half of you, if not more, probably use and love Apple products, right? Okay. Why was it so successful? And I think it's pretty clear that the main reason was its obsession with products, making products that you absolutely love, right? That consumers absolutely love. And why? Not just because they're functionally better, but also because they're kind of ergonomically and aesthetically better, so that they're more intuitive to use and more pleasurable to use, as well as doing the things you want to do. So I've done a lot of research on, how did Apple do this? Why are they probably the best company in the world at delivering the best products? And, I came up with some more P's. I mean, the letter P is very friendly for anyone who likes an acronym. And it was very easy to come up with another 5 P's within the product P, if you like, of why Apple was so successful. And it's hard to avoid the fact that to be very successful, you need someone, or maybe a small team at least, who have the personality to drive this success. And obviously, in the case of Apple, it's Steve Jobs. He had 2 or 3 other people who helped him, but he was the figurehead. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of the Apple story, but it is fascinating. They were around for about 10 years and they did really well with the Apple Mac. And then they kind of faded, and they amazingly, they ended up after 10 years with like 350 different product lines, right? Now, that's all very well if they were all brilliant, but they weren't. A lot of them weren't brilliant. So what Steve Jobs did when he came back to the company, oh, by the way, in the meantime, all he'd done was to found and fund a company called Pixar, whatever. Just, that was his hobby. But then he got back to Apple and he quickly became the actual CEO again. And he basically did the most amazing thing. The story has it that he went into the boardroom as the first time he was the acting CEO, right? And he said, you see all these products, this massive range of products, and he crossed out, I don't know if this is true, I want it to be true. He had a red pen and he crossed out most of them and just left, out of these 350 products, just 10 that he said, these ones are brilliant. These ones could be brilliant. Let us focus on these. And the reason he wanted to focus on that was actually, strange enough, about people, right? He said that, okay, if we focus on just a small number of products, it means that we can put our very best people, the 10 or 20, it wasn't a huge number back then, of the most talented people to make every one of these 10 fantastic products. That's quite brave, right? But it worked. In fact, after that, the story from now. They launched, the next launch was the iPod, and then the iPhone, and then the iPad, and then the watch. So that was the flow over the years. And each one was, a really strong product compared with competitors, and enough to command a price premium. Now, it's worth watching the video about perfectionism on the website, about Steve Jobs. He was a bit weird, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. There's a story about how he spent 2 weeks talking with his family at every dinner time about the pros and cons of different washing machines. Right, okay. That's his kind of world, right? But the benefit of that is he applied that in his work environment to get the absolute best from everyone, and he inspired people. So what I'm trying to say here is, there's a lot of commonality between this example and the Dyson example that's also on the website, which is, a figurehead who is passionate about making the most amazing products and has that kind of perfectionist characteristic is really important. Okay, so I'm going to just pause here because that's the first of the 3 main mechanisms I want to talk about. Any questions or builds on what I've said so far?
Could you maybe throw some Dyson? Well, you also use Dyson. I'm just curious some of the points as to what, because I'm intrigued by Dyson. I was just curious your take on it.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, Dyson, I mean, again, this is absolutely about the products. I mean, I haven't done the equivalent. This is a different way of illustrating the point. This is the one that hopefully you can see now. Yeah, Tom?
Yeah.
Cool. What Dyson did is he always focused on products that weren't great and how to make them better. Right, which I think, and actually Richard Branson from Virgin did exactly the same thing. That was always the thing. It's like, if I want to make a difference in the world in a kind of marketing stroke product sense, I need to focus on where things aren't right. And the story goes that he was, trying to reconstruct his garden, and he hated his wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow, because how wheelbarrows typically have like a wheel, a narrow wheel at the front, yeah, and that gets stuck in the mud literally because it sinks in. So he thought, well, why don't we have a ball that won't sink in? So that product on the top left was a huge success in Britain, massive success. And in fact, it got something like, I can't remember the figure, I think it's 40% of all wheelbarrow sales. Now, that's impressive, isn't it? Like 40% share. Wow. Okay, wheelbarrows, it's not a big market, so he didn't make a lot of money. Fine. But what he learned from this was that a company, he didn't patent it properly. He didn't apply patents, which meant that a company based in the US copied this because there was no legal reason not to, because he hadn't patented it. And then they got a huge share of the market in the US. And he had that, he couldn't do anything about it, which I think was a lesson. He talks about how that was a lesson he learned. It's like, okay, being different is only useful if you can protect your difference. Otherwise, you just, or you've got to be fast, very quick to market before anyone else. That's one or the other. Anyway, so that was his lesson learned. And then, of course, he perfected the original vacuum cleaner, and he focused on making it better in every single regard. Luckily, he had all the money from his success in the UK, at least, from the one before, the bull barrow, sorry, not wheelbarrow, bull barrow, to fund it, which was great. You need money. You need money or you need investment. He also got money from banks as well, not just his own money. Yeah. And took him a long time to perfect his vacuum cleaner, but he came up with something that was technically superior, and I would argue also aesthetically superior, as in it looks really cool. Dyson says that's almost like a fluke, or what's the word? A conscious byproduct of good engineering. Does that make sense? As in, yeah, if you engineer something that's beautiful and works really well, and you show it, that's why he used see-through perspective, see-through plastic for the main shaft. It kind of makes it look cool. And I think not on here, but on the website, I referred to the architect that inspired him to do it. So his product was superior. I mean, no question about it. It literally sucked more, what's the word? Fluff and dirt and bits from the carpet than the competitors. Great. And I think that's continued through the other innovations. But to do that, obviously he had to invest hugely in innovation. So he has what's the figure? Like 1,000 different product engineers, which is more than most other companies in the whole world, to come up with the very best. So there's a huge investment in R&D. If you want to be product leadership, you have to invest in R&D, obviously, and you have to invest in the creative talent. Tom, does that answer your question?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good. This week we're studying the P called product, so I wanted to do a little more on product. And you picked the two best.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are others. I'm trying to think of what the best examples are, but I think they are the best. They're the extremes. Weird enough, I had someone talk to me the other day, right, and they said, "Oh, I never use Apple as an example because they're too special. They're too different. You know what I mean? They're too unusual." I said, "Well, Why? Isn't that, well, surely the whole point of successful marketing means you have to do things differently, better or differently from everyone else. So you can only learn from the companies that have thrived by being different and special. So, I'm a big believer in this. It's like you won't necessarily replicate everything about Dyson, because there is Paul Dyson and there is Steve Jobs from Apple. But you can learn a lot about what you need to do as a business, to succeed if that's your strategy. You do need the best talent. You need to attract them. You need to keep them. You need to motivate them. The principles are the same, even if the, not as extreme. So any other questions from anyone or builds?
Keep on trucking, Dan. We'll get to
All right.
At the very end. I'm going to make sure we have all questions answered.
Okay, cool. So let me move on to, hopefully you remember the framework, which was, the value disciplines. I'm now going to go on to the next, another area.
And by the way, this is Dan's website, smartmarketing.me. So I did send you the case link in the module this week, but this is the place after class. I want you to go check the site out. It has way more illustrations than I think even than the book, than my books.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, no, Tom, way more than the book, because I keep adding and adding and adding. Yeah. Exactly. Some people said, read through this and you have more than an MBA. That's which I loved. I loved that. I was very proud. Okay. Okay. So the next area is, I think Aldi is one of the best examples of the kind of operational excellence stroke efficiency. Right. Now, I know that Aldi is, help me out here, guys. Aldi is not big yet in the US, but I think it's one of the fastest growing retailers.
It's getting bigger in this area. In fact, they're opening an Aldi in Westchester at the old public education building as you drive into town on Route 3.
Ah, really?
We're going to have a new Aldi's in town. Yes.
The thing is, I mean, it's one of the fastest growing retailers in the world. And again, and specifically in the US, it is growing massively right now. So if you haven't come across it, you probably will soon. I think this is a wonderful example, because if you want to excel on the operational efficiency side of things, and to be honest, when we talk about efficiency, operational efficiency or operational excellence, we're talking about doing that so that you can offer the low prices that attract consumers, right? The two go together. You're efficient so that you can offer low prices, and low prices are attractive and important to people. And Aldi is one of the best examples, I think. It comes out of Germany. Also Lidl, by the way, if you come across Lidl, I won't go into this now, but Lidl is, weirdly enough, very closely aligned to Aldi. Anyway, now this illustration just gives you some of the examples of the obsession that the founder of Aldi, which is Albrecht, the kind of things that he and his company did, his family store, to keep costs down. Yeah. If you can keep costs lower, significantly lower than your competitors, you can sell products at a lower price than competitors and still make a good margin, right? And by doing that, you're going to have more customers because you're selling the same stuff for less money. It's the kind of it's almost like a fundamental marketing, which is sometimes forgotten. So Aldi is the best, one of the best examples of how on earth do you keep costs down. This is in a retailer context. Yeah. So for example, what they do is on the left here, I mean, first of all, their stores are a fifth of the size of the other big retailers in the UK, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, etc. Right? They're a fifth of the size. Now, imagine how much that saves. That is, the rent on those premises are tiny compared with that. But they still provide almost as good a range in terms of all the different types of product you can buy in that little store. The reason they do that is because they have a tiny range. They don't sell 20 different types, 20 different brands of tomato ketchup. They usually sell just one or two, okay? Just a few. And even better than that, their own label product. Yeah. Because they're only selling, let's say two, right? Because their own labeled product is going to sell a lot, because they're only stocking two, they can do an amazing deal with their own label supplier of tomato ketchup or whatever it is. Yeah. And they can get the best possible quality at the lowest possible price. So the customer is getting a better deal. They are genuinely getting a better deal. And that is a model. You can see it's an operational model that leads to how the brand can succeed. They do lots more than this. I mean, hopefully you've had a little look at the thing. They're quite extreme, really. They don't even have music in their stores because they don't want to pay any money to the licensees. Fine, that's fine. People who go there are not expecting the wonderful experience. They're expecting the best possible value. They were the first store in the UK to put, I know it sounds crazy, but in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but the freezer sections are in a lot of stores, they're just open. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but think of all the energy you're losing. So they go, no, we're going to put lids on these things. Okay, the customer has to lift up the lid, but they're getting a better deal because you're not wasting all the money on the energy from not having your lid. I won't go into all the details, but the illustration does that. So every single decision they make is to reduce costs and increase, therefore, the value for money, so long as the customer doesn't want a lovely experience. As long as they don't care about having the best experience, the most, what's the word?
It's bare bones over there at the Aldi. You're going for bare bones treatment. But here's the thing, as I understand, the big supermarket chain that's Tesco tried to open a discount part of their business, which they just closed because they realized they'll not be able. So many times companies think, oh, let's, that Tesco, everybody, that's a huge superstore. They're like a supermarket, a 7-Eleven, a Wawa. They're all that's a liquor store, everything combined in one. And it's on every corner after corner in London for sure. They thought, Aldi's is kicking our butts. We better start a discount section of our business. Well, they just shut that down, right, Dan? What's that tell us, Dan? Right? It's awful hard to do both.
They couldn't compete. They're not efficient enough to offer those prices because they're not efficient enough because they don't do these things that are on the illustration. You can't do it. You can't just undercut. You have to still make a profit from the low cost. Otherwise, well, in the long term anyway. Yeah, in the short term, you can bluff your way, but in the long term, no. And remember, this is also a big company, so they have the resources to weather it. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. So that's, any questions about that? About
well, the one thing that we talk a lot about in the class is our job in marketing is to move the price up, move the value up. We started with Apple. I show you the picture of, they came out with headphones for the first time. Their headphones were priced at like a ridiculous, say $500. Which was like 3 of the wonderful Bose headset that I bought my wife, and yet Apple sold out. The review said the product stunk, but people bought it simply because it's Apple. They made ridiculously huge margins. The margins they make on their phones are ridiculous. It's like $200 worth of equipment in that iPhone. That's $1,000 that you pay for. And so that's one side. And then Aldi, they're making more margin on these items than anybody else that they compete with. So again, marketing moves the value up. It puts the money in our bank. And so
it's all about money. Yeah, it's all about money. only a few brands can succeed at this end, this value end, this efficiency end. Only the companies that are most efficient in terms of their operations, their business model, and the way they work with suppliers.
I use Walmart for this one, Danny, just so.
Yeah, Walmart is very similar to this. And there's a big debate, will Aldi compete with Walmart or not? They're bigger. Walmart is much bigger, so maybe they have more buying power. Who knows? But if they're not as efficient, they, in the long run, they may struggle against a competitor like Aldi. You know, it's a very impressive. It's all about efficiency. You have to be the most efficient if you're going to compete on price. Most marketing, like you said, competes not on price, actually. This is the exception these days, actually. It competes on appeal, demand, and therefore
value,
premium,
overall value,
premium. And in fact, you know, 9 out of 10 case studies are about how brands have succeeded by creating and supporting a premium. So this is important to know, but I think you're really right, Tom, that this is the exception rather than the rule.
It's real hard to go this side, you know, the value side and stay profitable.
It's hard. You have to be the most efficient, otherwise you're out of it. You're out of it. And that means it's not just about market, it's not just about comms. It has to be the whole business model. Otherwise, forget it. Forget it. If you're in a company, you know, a lot of your guys will go into companies. Most of them will not be that efficient, not super efficient like this. In which case, they need to focus on the other mechanisms, you know, particularly the best in product, or the next one, which I'm going to talk about, which is about the customer experience as well.
Danny, a student asked a question, with all the supply chain issues, is this putting a cramp into those companies that are living on operational excellence? Even Amazon, one would argue, is operationally excellent.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're not shipping as fast as they used to. So definitely, right? Supply chains impacted even those big operationally excellent businesses.
Yes, absolutely, because that's part of the equation. You know, that's part of the expectation. You're right, absolutely. Obviously, if it affects lots of brands equally, you know, that's okay. But you're right, Amazon getting slower, that's a problem for them, because people start to say, oh, forget it, I'll go local. Yeah.
But you're about to come up with the niche side, which is another way to win as a marketer.
Yeah. Go back to the framework. Do you remember there was the product kind of leadership area, which we covered through Apple and through Dyson in particular? Those two are great examples. We then talked about the operational efficiency and excellence, which is Aldi is one example. The third one is about customer experience or customer intimacy, right? So let me just, the example I love, and I know, Tom, you've also used this example, yeah, is Zappos. And I do apologize. I think this is possibly my worst illustration ever, because it's, well, I'm sorry, Tom. But
come on, man, it's not, come on, stop that.
No, well, I'm not happy with it because it's far too many words. It's not visual. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point, the content's good, right? The whole point is that if you want to appeal to customers through having the ultimate customer experience, right, you need to make sure that every, hence in the middle, you know, customer interaction, every customer interaction needs to be strong, needs to be positive, needs to be optimized. And I have this framework. It's that is in my book, actually. This is the first major plug for the book. Which is, I love this. Well, I'm proud of it, this framework, right? Which is that when you think about customer interactions, these are probably the 5 most important things. People who are potentially going to buy your brand sometimes look for information. Then they may have an inquiry. They want to ask a question, you know, to the brand, to the company. Yeah. Then they're going to go through a purchasing experience, right? Which may be easy and lovely, or it may be difficult and annoying. If they then buy the product, you have then the customer support that obviously, if it's a great product, service, they may not need, but if they do, they want it to be great. And then finally, if actually the product doesn't deliver, there is a complaints process, hopefully, that is either positive or negative. So this is a nice, I love this framework for thinking about if you want you want to build your brand through customer intimacy, that's what you think is your point of difference. Yeah, you need to be strong in all 5 of these areas, and it's like a checklist. Yeah, and it's yeah, far too many words, obviously. I'll work on this. But the diagram gives you what some illustration for what Zappos did. They're if you're not familiar with them, they're online retailer, originally of shoes and now of shoes and apparel of various types. They are so good at delivering a positive customer experience that they now train other companies on how to do it, and they're really good at training as well. Okay, they're obsessive about it, but and
yeah, one of their sticks was they would send you their training manual. If you wanted a copy of their training manual, they would send it to you. They were I've never heard of anyone.
No, they're proud of it, aren't they?
The famous story was the founder was out late at night. He said, you call my customer service department. The guy picks up the phone. It's 11:30. He says, I'm in Philadelphia. I want a pizza. Get me one. So the rep said, put him on hold, came back. Okay, this place is open now, and they have a cheese. Long story short, this guy got a pizza through the Zappos customer service in Arizona or in Las Vegas, delivered to wherever they were, to show that their customer service will help you even get a pizza, let alone that you don't have to worry.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about those things is, obviously there's very few customers. There's very few customers who kind of demand or expect that kind of treatment. Right? Okay, fine. Because that's the reality. 99 out of 100, they just get their shoes or whatever, and they're happy, and that's great. But these 1 in 100, the good thing about Zappos, what they do is they then merchandise that story. Yeah, they then take that story, which is a true story from what I've read, same as you, Tom. But they kind of go, yeah, this is just an example. And it's like an advert, isn't it? It's like, this is an example of how we treat our customers, which is really important. And it was especially important in the early days. I mean, you guys look far too young to appreciate how skeptical people were in the early days of online shopping, where it's like, well, why would I buy a shoe online? Will it even turn up? Do I trust these guys? I've never heard of them. Will it fit? If it doesn't fit, can I send it back? How much will that cost me? All that. So the idea of back then, it's still relevant today, but even more relevant back then, was don't worry about it. If it doesn't fit, you send it back. You don't even have to pay. That's in the purchasing area. Yeah, shipping, free shipping. Free shipping was a big deal back then. They took the risk that, the amount of they'd have to pay to ship things back was worth it, given the 99 out of 100 who will happily put the shoe on and love it. It's important. If you're going to go down this route, you have to take it seriously. It's the same like all the other 2 routes. Whichever route you go down, you have to do it brilliantly. If you do it brilliantly, you will rise above the competition. That's the kind of key point, I think. So, okay, those are the key illustrations I wanted to show you. I'm now open to any questions about those examples or any of the other illustrations and case examples that I've published. I'm just scrolling through some of them now. Patagonia is one of my, and the
Tropicana one was excellent. Again, that's packaging. Go up to the top, Danny. Let's just cruise.
Yeah,
it is. You could look, everybody. All my marketing seniors there. There's only what? There's what? 624. There's not many. I want you to look at each one of these. Tropicana is about packaging. IKEA talks about the way the store's laid out. Pampers talks about how they solved an international problem to their growth. Nintendo, same thing, how they got their category set up. So by looking at these charts and studying these illustrations and reading what Dan's written, you will learn these key case illustrations quickly, and you'll know more than your competitors when you go for jobs.
I think that's right. So I agree. And I think I'm doing more and more consultancy recently. Since I left, I was 28 years, 29 years at one company.
Well, that was a market research company, yes?
It was Kantar. Yeah.
Kantar, they're a renowned market research company. And by the way, Dan, you leaving there allowed us to finally see all these illustrations.
Yeah, exactly. This was my thing. I had all these ideas, but I couldn't express them. You know, when you're in a corporate world, this happens. But the point is, it's like now I'm doing consultancy, I realized when you're in a specific company, when you're working either in or consulting for a specific organization, the most important thing, I think, by far is, what is your, I use the word predicament, what is your
situational analysis? What are you facing right now?
You could call it situational analysis, Tom. You clearly do. Yeah. Your situation analysis will tell you what your key challenges are, right? And without that, you don't know what they are. But with it, you know exactly what they are. Now, the importance of understanding what your key challenges are because of your situation analysis is you can then learn from example, right? So it could be that you have a challenge with your packaging. You can learn from Tropicana. It could be that you don't know quite how to replicate success internationally, in which case the Pampers example, and another one which is Kit Kat coming soon. I'm building these all the time. That will give you inspiration for how you might adapt and exploit it internationally. It could be to do with all sorts of things. If you want to expand the the different contexts where your brand might be used, broaden its usage relevance. Yeah,
similar to the way that Arm & Hammer baking soda had you put it in your refrigerator to take away the stink. Similar
exactly,
that way.
a whole new usage occasion. Or if you're Coke, this is my Coke example, which is one of my most successful ones of it, actually, which is kind of like, when you look at the history of Coke, right? And over the years, they built more and more different contexts in people's brains. Yeah, because that's where everything exists from a brand point of view, right? The moments when they might think of Coke. Okay, they want something tasty, think of Coke. They want something refreshing. These advertising that came later. Oh my God, yeah, Coke's very refreshing, isn't it? If you're thirsty, I'm not going to go through them all, but you get my drift. It's like building and building. Brands are built, they're layered, and over time they've become more and more widely thought of and bought.
Yeah, here's like a barbecue sauce. The category points of barbecue sauce is twice a year, Memorial Day and July 4th.
Yeah.
And that's why you see all the sales. Buy one, get one free, because they load you up with, whatever the barbecue sauce is. They know that you're not going to need any more till next year. So that's a category point for a consumer product that's used really around those two holidays. They differ depending on the business that you're working for. So it's important to understand.
Yeah, that's a great example, Tom. I'm thinking if I was trying to market a barbecue sauce, right? Yeah, my priority would be, how can we get people to buy barbecue sauce for the other 10 months of the year?
Good luck, because you're not barbecuing out now, dude. It's
no.
freezing out.
No. But that's the beauty of it. Exactly. That's the beauty of it. It's like, okay, that's a creative challenge. How can we get people to think of using it? I'm not, seriously, after this call, right? In fact, I should have started now because my wife's nearly home. She's going to be home in about half an hour, right? And I need to get the supper on. That's my job, right?
Oh, yes. Well, let's see what time it is. All right.
No, Tom, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying. And I bought some, sorry, this is, apologies everyone, but I bought some pork belly strips. I love pork belly, but I need to cook that. And guess what I'm going to use on it?
Barbecue.
Yes, well, I should because it's delicious. But you know, it's freezing out there. It's like minus 3 degrees at the moment.
Whoa.
So yeah. The point is, you know, great marketing expands the usage occasions. Yeah, just like Coke did. They took 100 years, but you know, it's important. It's a really important concept in marketing, is to get, you know, to broaden your, the word I use is usage contexts. Yeah, usage context that you build in the brain. Yeah.
Especially since we know that for a lot of brands, they only purchase once a year. You know, Byron Sharp and How Brands Grow. This is what he talks about in, you know, once a year might be the best you get, you know, and they buy from a category, you know, for example,
right.
You go, I love Coca-Cola. When I go to the store, I'll have a Coke. Oh, we got Pepsi products. I don't want that. Very infrequently do people say that. They say, okay, I'll have a Pepsi.
I'll have Pepsi. It'll do. Yeah. Agreed.
So now stop sharing the screen, Dan, so we can bring everybody back together.
Agreed.
Yeah, there they are. All right. Now we got everybody. All right. So if you have any questions, first of all, Dan, that was awesome. Thank you for covering. Remember, smartmarketing.me. You go there. Now, I have the soft skills book and the smart marketing book in hard copies. When you graduate, you tell whoever's going to say, hey, what do you want for graduation? You get a copy of each of those hardcover books. Won't cost you maybe $20 total for both of them. Put them in your briefcase or your backpack, or put them at your desk, because they'll really help you out. And you could go through the illustrations on that very website to see a lot of these illustrations that are in the chart, as well as I have some in the module. So are there any other questions for Dan about anything related to marketing? He is a wealth of information and one of the smartest guys I've met since I've been working with marketers that practice full time. Any questions? What about any advice for marketers starting out, Dan?
Well, I mean,
new marketers, you know, they graduated, now they're about to begin their career. What advice, looking back, would you do differently if you were coming out of school now with a marketing degree today?
I guess, I mean, there's the general advice, which is, you know, never stop learning, always be curious, always ask lots of questions. I mean, it's obvious stuff, but I can't underestimate, you know, how valuable that's been for me. And I guess the other thing, you know, like you mentioned, the soft skills concept. I think you need to develop your technical skills and your soft skills in parallel. You know, you can be very technically skilled, but if you haven't got the kind of communication skills, interpersonal skills, presentation skills, all those things, you're not going to succeed. The two are equally important, I think, for anyone. So don't just rely on your technical ability. Otherwise, you won't get as far as you probably deserve, I think.
And here's the thing: if you aspire to be the chief marketing officer, and I hope you do, and I hope you achieve that in your careers, understand this: the soft skills is going to be way more important to you at that level than the smart marketing. You talk to CMOs, they don't do as much hands-on marketing. They're not involved in the creating of the ads. They're not on the streets talking to people. You know, that's your marketing manager, your digital. So as a marketing manager, you'll be more hands-on, but as a CMO, you'll be working with the executive team, and you'll be more, you know, leading the strategy going forward. So
it's all about
skills is important.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the people talk about storytelling, and I know that's a cliche, but storytelling is a nice phrase because it means conveying something in a way that people want to listen to and they're going to be influenced by. So yeah, whatever you think of storytelling or communication effectiveness becomes more and more, as Tom said, more and more important as you get more senior, if you want to become even more senior. Technical skills are important earlier on, but the thing is about soft skills, you need to keep building them. You can't just build them overnight. You know, they take practice. Unlike technical skills, you can learn something and you know it, fine, great. But soft skills require practice because they're about, working with other people usually and communicating well.
Yeah, ability to write well, concisely, ability to present well. I mean, you could stand out immediately. If you can do those things, you can really make a name for yourself quick because you'll have plenty of opportunity.
Stand out and ideally stand out to people and ideally make them want to work with you, endear yourself to them in some way, just have some sort of connection or build a connection. Those are really, really important skills.
Yeah. Build a reputation for doing what you say you're going to do. Following through is the key professionalism. If you say, I'll have that for you tomorrow by noon, you get it there. Most definitely the people that ask you above your level, like when president of Cardone Industries would send me a note, boom, that response came back right away because I knew care and feeding of my boss was my #1 job.
Actually, that's a good point.
Gal ahead of me.
That's a nice point. I know this sounds wrong. Wait, is it wrong? I don't know. Let me know whether I used to respond to my bosses within about an hour. Whereas I'd respond to other people maybe in half a day or a day or two. It's worth being that kind of, that prioritization is quite important. Yeah, I like, yeah.
Anyway. All right, well, thank you, Dan. It's time for the end. We do the thumbs up at the end of the meeting picture. Okay. So let's cameras on, everybody. I see a bunch of cameras off at the bottom. Let's get the thumbs up picture ready. Cameras on. We'll get the cameras on. Oh, there we go. You guys know the thumbs up, man. We do the thumbs up. We take the thumbs up picture saying thank you, Dan. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. All right. Everybody, that was fantastic. Would you not agree? Thank Dan on the way out. Dan, as always, I appreciate you, my friend.
No, you're welcome. You're more than welcome, Tom, always, as ever. Yeah.
Soft skills, smart marketing. Go to the website, smartmarketing.me. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.